What's up, guys? That Really Gross Guy here. We are back playing Warframe. So, I want to talk a little bit. I want to kind of bounce off the topic that we talked about yesterday, and that was kind of what do you think we kind of need when it comes to the end game slash open world content to allow for like better end game kind of experience. There were little other kind of points that I made in there, but kind of the idea was the set mods that we had kind of been that have kind of been leaked. If they are going to end up being a thing, you never actually know until it's a thing. As well as like the talking about the open world just a little bit, but I do want to mention, everyone is subject to their own opinions, but someone at TennoCon actually was asking about if we were going to see any changes to Trinity and how she operates. And the point they were trying to make is the mechanic around kind of her life and energy stealing abilities are a little bit, in my opinion, they're fairly stationary. The fact that like you pause an enemy, put them up in the air, and then you kind of like stop your fast fluid motions just to be like, okay, so you can get some health or some energy and stuff like that. And then you just continue on, is a little bit strange. Now, I'm not against it, but, it is a little bit strange of a mechanic. But I see why it's in place, and I see why it's kind of necessary for the game. But they were kind of talking about how the energy regeneration and health regeneration and stuff like that, kind of how they take place currently in the game as is, and how Trinity is kind of the go-to for it, and if there might be any changes in the future so that Trinity is not necessarily the primary healer that we can rely on for that type of stuff, and at the same time, maybe if the way she casts her abilities or whatnot, I didn't fully understand the point he was trying to make at the time he was trying to make it, but it makes it sound like he would like to see some changes to Trinity, so that endgame players or maybe faster moving players on missions and stuff like that would maybe get more benefit from Trinity. I don't know. Number one is, I would like to know your opinions on it, even though I know most of you believe that they don't want to see anything. Do not touch Trinity, she's perfect. Leave her alone. And I get it, because I think she's a fairly fantastic frame. I've run plenty of missions with fantastic Trinities that know their stuff and can keep you regenerated, keep your energy up, and all that stuff. So I get it. I get why people adore her and don't want to see any changes. Which is kind of what led into yesterday's topic, which is how can we sustain our energy levels, health levels, and stuff like that without requiring a Trinity in the party, especially if we are going to stay in our open world for an extended amount of time. I mean, energy pizzas, all that stuff. I want to pretend as though that is not going to be our main source of how we are going to keep our energy and our health up. I'm thinking other stuff. Would you guys like to see... I mean, I know you guys do, because Oberon has seen his rework. But I would like to see a little bit more support abilities when it comes to frames that revolve around sustainability and not necessarily, instant gratification when it comes to, like a health regeneration. What I mean by that is Trinity's Blessing. Instantaneous health restore and invincibility. very awesome, very good, and I love Trinity's Blessing, don't get me wrong, but what kind of things could we see that would help us with a very lengthy duration so that our open world experiences are that much longer? And things that I want to point out as very beneficial, ways of keeping our duration and health and all that stuff up, I mentioned previously in the last video, is like Energy Siphon and Rejuvenation. And that is going to be like making sure our health and our energy is steadily being restored. Now, that's all well and good, but what if we really can't afford to put those mods on our build? Is there other ways for us to accomplish that in our lengthy open world gameplay sessions, and I kind of hinted at in the previous video, maybe we do like an achievement-based system where we could maybe gain extra benefits as long as we perform certain tasks with certain weapons or warframes. Or maybe those new mods that we talked about in the last episode, which are the set mods, maybe some of those help us with some of that sustainability, we'll just say. I don't know. What do you guys have any ideas of how we could accomplish this? Or do you think it would be a good way of doing something as though, the achievement would be something more along the lines of kill, I don't know, every 10 enemies you kill grants a health bonus or a health restore? Or should that be a mod thing? Should that be an Exilus slot type thing? Or should it be tied entirely to Warframe abilities? Do you guys feel like it's your fault for not having a Trinity, or it's your fault for not having an Oberon, or if you're going to run solo, that's just something you're going to have to deal with because it's your problem for running solo? What do you guys think? What do you think would be good ways of keeping sustainability for these long duration missions? I just got knocked in a hole. I don't know. Do you guys have any ideas? Do you guys think that we need something or not? I feel like endgame players would agree that we need to sustain ourselves for some really extensive missions, because these guys that were running survival for hours, they needed to sustain their energy and their health and stuff like that. You better believe that there are people that are going to be out in the open world for very significant portions of time and fighting some probably pretty high-level enemies, especially at nighttime, where the strong enemies come out to play. I'm excited about that, but how are we gonna sustain ourselves? I feel like the night and day cycle is going to be a good way for us to say, as a newer player, maybe nighttime is coming up, I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna regenerate my abilities, or I'm gonna regenerate my energy and take 5, or because they're not going to be able to stick around during the nighttime. Or maybe endgame players, it's the exact opposite, where they're like, oh, I'm not going to go out there with these wimpy little enemies during the day. I am going to... Let me switch over to Sonic see if this helps. I'm not going to stick around for the wimpy enemies during the day. I'm going to come out only at night and really get the challenge. I'm not really looking forward to that. I'm not. I don't get me wrong. I'm excited about the day-night cycle, but if the enemies are too weak during the day, and I don't want to play during the day, it's gonna be just like when I had to go back to my orbiter, and orbiter, right? Isn't that what it's called? I'm spacing out on the whatever, but we have to go back and choose a new mission. I feel like that might take me out of the game a little bit, and I want to go from day to night to day to night to day to night without having to return to the settlement or whatever to regenerate my health. And I feel like a lot of people are gonna feel the same way about that. I want to see that sustainability. I want to see this end game stuff get to the point where I have a way of keeping myself prepped and ready throughout the entire game session without having to return. And I feel like a lot of you guys feel the same way. But that's gonna do it. I figured I'd start out, you know, talking about the Trinity thing, and some people I know just adore her and refuse any changes to Trinity because she is very beloved in the community. And I felt like that was a good way to kind of introduce the idea of without Trinity, how are we going to sustain ourselves? Without Oberon, how are we going to sustain ourselves? Some of you guys, like I said, I am interested in finding out what you guys have to feel about that. So I'm going to head out. I hope you guys learned something. I hope maybe you've got something, some feedback you can give me. I would really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, blah!